Hey Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this episode of Azure This Week. In this episode, we're going to take a look at 3 new updates from Microsoft Azure. Azure AD B2B has added support for Google Identities. You can now turn your Whiteboard wireframes into working HTML, and you can now prioritize security events with the Security Center confidence score. Let's get started with Azure Active Directory B2B. This service enables you to provide access for users to your applications across organizational boundaries. You don't need to add these users into your own Active Directory, and they don't even have to have an Active Directory themselves. This service is really popular with businesses that need to provide access to internal applications for their partners and third parties that they deal with. Until today, the way that this worked was that the business you were collaborating with needed to have Azure AD or a Microsoft account, such as Outlook.com. If you didn't have a Microsoft account, you could create one on the fly. But this is a pretty inefficient collaboration process. So Microsoft have this week announced support for Google as an identity provider for Azure AD B2B. This means that partners and third parties that you deal with can now log into your Azure AD secured apps using their Google account. To get started, you simply enable B2B Google Federation and then invite Gmail users to your application. They can then use their Google identity to sign in. No more need for them to have an Azure AD or Microsoft account. It is worth noting though that this initial release only supports Google IDs with the @gmail.com extension, so this won't work with G Suite accounts that use custom domains. So this next update is really cool. Usually when people design web apps, they start on a whiteboard or a piece of paper, and they draw out the wireframe of the user interface for their application. This is then later converted into HTML so that they can be used in the real world. Well, this week, Microsoft have announced a super cool tool that aims to simplify this process. You simply draw your wireframe on a whiteboard, take a photo of the whiteboard using the app, and it will then generate working HTML for you. How cool is that? There is a working demo over at the link below, where you can try out some sample wireframes or even upload your own. It uses a number of Azure services, including the custom vision service, blob storage, Azure Functions and App Service to make up the architecture of this application. And I think it's a good example of how you can tie together various of the Azure Lego blocks together to make a working application. You can check out the source code over at GitHub, so even if you're not interested in making HTML wireframes, it's worth checking out anyway. We've covered Azure Security Center a lot on this series. It's gone through a ton of updates in the last year or so, and it's great to see how it's evolving. For those viewers that aren't familiar with Security Center, it offers a suite of tools that provide unified security management and advanced threat protection across your Azure resources. It also has powerful visualizations that help you understand your security status and ultimately detect and respond to attacks. However, investigating security alerts can be both complex and time-consuming. This means that often alerts are ignored. With this new update that's in public preview, Security Center will now automatically investigate alerts and provide you with a confidence score to determine which alerts or threats are most likely to be legitimate and require your investigation, enabling you to prioritize alerts when doing triage. The confidence score is calculated by performing automated checks across your Azure resources by using a combination of industry best practices, intelligent algorithms, and processes commonly used by security analysts. It specifically looks inside your virtual machines to identify any suspicious processes that are running. The score is then denoted as a number between 0 and 100. The higher the number, the higher the confidence that this alert indicates a true malicious activity and should be investigated. You can find the confidence score in the Security Alerts blade, and then you can dive into the alert and see a list of top reasons why this alert received this score. Note that to use this feature, you'll either need to be on the standard tier of Security Center or within the free trial, which is a paid for tier and it costs 2 cents per node per hour. And that's it for this episode of Azure This Week, where we looked at Azure AD B2B support for Google Identities, the new Sketch2Code Whiteboard to HTML tool, and the public preview of confidence scores in Azure Security Center. Until next week, keep being awesome, Cloud Gurus.